and welcome to this tutorial on solving linear programs using Excel. Okay, so what is Excel? Excel is a spreadsheet software that's a product marketed by Microsoft. So this is not available free of cost, even though there are some free alternatives that implement many of the features of Excel. And the nice thing about Excel is it's widely used in the industry. It's one of these packages that everyone in the industry seems to find really useful for sorting through data and making calculations. Okay. The important thing about Excel from our point of view is it supports data analysis tools, and one such tool includes this so-called solver that can be used to solve linear programs. So the objective is to understand how this can be done. And therefore, let's take our favorite little example of this linear program to maximize x1 plus 2x2 subject to these constraints. Okay, so we have gone through this linear program in our previous videos, and we have convinced ourselves the solution is x1 equals 6 and x2 equals 11. And the optimal objective value we achieved was something like 28. So the question is, how do we solve this linear program using Excel? Okay, so on to Excel, and we are now going to see how to solve this linear program. Okay, so now we are on to Excel. So this is Microsoft Excel. This is the version on a Mac. The version on Windows looks pretty similar. Okay, so we have set up things as following. We have these two cells here, and I'm going to shade these two cells so that you can see they are shaded yellow. And these are the two cells for the decision variables, x1 and x2. So I'm going to get Excel to put in the values here. The final answer should come here in these two cells. Okay, so I've marked these two cells. Okay, so I'm writing down the objective function. So it's x1 plus 2x2 if you go back to the problem. All right, let's go back to the problem. Right there, and here you go, x1 plus 2x2. All right, so x1 and 2x2, so we have that right here. Okay, so x1 and 2x2 subject to, now we are going to write down the constraint. So it's minus 3x1 plus x2, 0x1 plus x2, x1 minus x2, and x2 x1 by itself. Okay, so we have this right here, so that's right. And here we have two rows to say greater than or equal to 0. There are multiple ways of doing this, and we are just doing it in one way. All right, so now the important thing is to set up this cell to be the actual value of the objective. And to do that, I have the following calculation. So I'm going to say this is equal to 1 times the value of this cell, the cell corresponding to x1, plus 2 times the value of the cell corresponding to x2. Okay, so you can do it that way. There is a shortcut to doing this using this so-called sum product function, which is the dot product function in MATLAB. So I'm going to just do the dot product between x1, x2 and the objective row. Okay, and so that gives us the same result. Okay, now let's materialize the rows for each of these constraints. So this is going to be the dot product between minus 3, 1 and x1, x2. So this is going to be the value minus 3x1 plus x2. 0x1 plus x2 is going to come here. x1 minus x2 is going to come here. And x1 is going to come here. So all of these are going to materialize the values of minus 3x1, the values of the various rows. And I've just put in for our illustrations, I've just put in the right hand side. This needs to be less than equal to 2, less than equal to 11, less than equal to 3, and less than equal to 6. And finally, this is going to be the same cell as this, and in Excel you say equals B4. Okay, and by the way, so let's fix that, equals B4. Okay, and this is going to be equals C4, which is this cell. Okay, so I've just written it down to write down the greater than or equal to 0 constraints. Okay, now that I have done all of this, I'm ready to solve the linear program. Okay, and so to do that, you go and invoke the solver. There's two ways of doing this. You can do this, or you can open up the data dialog and then click on solver. Okay, it depends on which machine you're using, and this window comes up. Okay, it might be too small to see, but what this window is asking us is to set the objective function. Okay, whether it's a maximize or a minimize, and what are the variable cells to change and the constraints. Okay, and finally it allows us to specify that we want to use simplex. All right, so let's do this. We'll set the objective to be a single cell, which is this cell, which holds the value of the objective. Done. Now we'll specify the variable cells as expected. It's these two cells. And okay, now comes the trickier part, which is to add the constraints. Okay, let's do that. So the constraint, the first constraint is going to be as follows. So we have this window, add constraint. The left hand side is this, and it's going to be a less than equal to, and the right hand side is this. Okay, I'm going to add that constraint. Now we can add constraints in one shot. So left hand side is this, these three cells, less than equal to, the right hand side is these three cells. Okay, so now if you bring up the solver window, you see that we have added two constraints, one for just the first row, and the other is a joint constraint for the other three rows since we added them together. There's two ways of adding the non-negativity constraints. You can just click on this, or you can say, you can use the same thing. So click on add. Okay, so you get this, and then you say these two cells are now going to be greater than or equal to. So we'll change the sign here to greater than or equal to. Okay, so you need to work with this by yourself. And these two cells which are just saying 0. Okay, so we have done. All right, so now the problem is all set up. Okay, and when I press solve, what simplex will do, what Excel will do is to run simplex and fill in the values of x1 and x2 right here. That's our expectation. Let's see what happens. So we do that, and the solver starts to run. It takes a second. Okay, so I'm going to show you the solver solution. So there it is, voila, the solver solution is already there. X1 is 6, you can see right here, and x2 is 11, it's filled it in, and you can see that doing so satisfies all these constraints, and the objective value right here is 28. Okay, so thus we can use Excel to solve these constraints. In the next video, Shalom is going to take you through solving the diet problem using the spreadsheet that we have uploaded using Excel as well. Okay, so we will see you then, and thank you.